Late August 2024 with the Lovelocks of Sunninghill. Rough cut photo trails. And as I always say, they will be rough cut. I'll start with the standard introduction. By the way, that's Bentley down the road, you can hardly see him. That's guard cat. And that's the front of where we live at 22 Armitage Court. Yeah, QR code might work. And warning signs about fierce guard cats. And just because I'm shooting this, I've got the robot boat on test here, and the only bit that I put in just for this video intro is the text to speech, and that would normally, if you'd seen other stuff, would be mounted on a proper platform just for Braylake test. But we're now leaving it on test, finding problems. The last one I fixed recently was this servo linkage. It will show up on the photographs, was rubbing on the lid, and I've made a little window there just by cutting the label. Anyhow, what I will do, so since some people are interested in the robot boats, I'll switch it off. That's already switched off, that one. It's a duplicated switch. So I'll switch off here so you hear the start up. And it waggles the rudder at the beginning.
Snoopy's X28X2 GPS audio pilot. Software version Romeo. Last update 6th of December 2017.
Yes, so we haven't changed the software since.
Tab 1635. 10 seconds. Target Alpha. 11 kilometers. At 349 degrees. GPS course 139.
That's GPS time, which is the same as GMT or Universal Time, or for those who know, Zulu time. So, right, we'll leave that running for the moment. Yes, that's Snoopy. And this is Snoopy 11 that survived 6 weeks at sea. It's all on the appropriate pages, or inappropriate, as you wish. Right, so down we have here, on guard, one of the guard cats. Yeah, this is the website, gpss.co.uk, that was a business many years ago, but is now hobbies like the robot boat and charitable causes. This is a guard cat, Toady. Hello, Toady. You're not going to attack the camera, are you? No, I didn't think he would. That's the only thing he doesn't attack. He tends to attack me quite a bit, don't you? Yes, there you go, look. Yeah. So, yes, as I always say, that's June's car, but I'm not allowed to drive because of the DVLA, but that's at the back end. Yeah, this is a little project a couple of years ago now. Warning signs, accommodation for guard cats like Toady and Bentley and any others, and yes, also armed mice. These aren't real weapons, of course, are they? Would be, no. And warning signs. You'll see lots of examples of warning signs. There's my bicycle, which sometime I might get round to fixing it. Here's one of the cats. This is Michelle's cat, Lady. And how's Lady? Yes, you okay? Yeah, prowling around checking things out. You can't be too careful here. I've mentioned the signs. I've left the door open, makes it easier for me. One thing I should point out is the accommodation part-time for Snoopy and his robot boat, but mostly his transport down to the sea for a mission to cross the Atlantic, or an attempt, is this camper that was June's bright idea. And here's the battle damage. We wouldn't want to remove that. Battle damage. June said Robin did it. Robin said the wall did it, but the wall is okay. That's correct, isn't it, Lady? Various projects here. What you do see a lot of is peanuts. And there's a peanut feeder. Yeah, needs topping up soon. And the videos show the wildlife coming and being seen on the various cameras. There's lots of cameras all over the place. Another one there. And there's a toy recently, the Ring camera, which is normally up to press a button, but it catches things coming up to the peanuts. Now, I have to now read the warning signs, and I should say at the beginning, these are obviously just jokes, because these days people take things so seriously. So, first thing here is, yes, that's been there a long time. Closed circuit TV, hidden TV cameras inside and out this house. Sound and video is monitored in local houses and elsewhere. No trespassing. Violators will be shot. Survivors will be shot again. And do not disturb. I'm disturbed enough already. And perhaps, as I always say, this sign is probably the most important, because it's not just cameras. Home of mad ex-NATO scientist Robin Lovelock, beware of web cameras and water squirters loaded with water, paint, acid, DNA tracer or nerve agent. Robin would not be mad enough to test these, or would he? Of course not. Right, I think that's, yes, that was a project from the flatulent fairy from last Christmas. Right, I think we can afford to go in now. I'll just say, I'm grabbing the chance when I can. Hello, you want to say hello? Bentley was just down the road. I'll see whether he's still there, because Bentley is quite a star of these videos. He lives across the road, but he always comes to us for food. Ah, there he is, outside our neighbours. We'll have a quick glance at him. Hello, Bentley. You coming over to us? Yeah? Hello. You coming over? Got to have your supper yet, haven't you? Right, so this is the front of our place here. All overgrown, of course. And one of the reasons for these videos, they're all in many ways similar. Sometimes they're slightly updated, like the latest information on the robot boat, but it's a plea for help. No, not psychological help, although yeah, I can understand that, the two things might be combined. It's all the work we need in the garden. It's not the obvious things like gardening work, that's relatively easy. It's the amount of junk. Oh yes, this is a new mat that June got, and these are extras for Lady, and so's that. I don't get much saying what happens in the house. This is Robin's naughty corner, where he hangs out with a closed circuit TV, and more relaxed place to sit, to eat for example. And so that's the lounge. TV's switched off at the moment, and not just TV. And the only reason this room, the games room, is untidy is because I've been doing work on the robot boat. So for example, here's the test rig, checking the reliability by testing to death of a particular servo, and a few batteries charged up ready to be replaced. So that's my excuse for why this room is such a mess. I think most things are switched off like soldering irons. Lots of work to put things in the right places. A lot of these things have got sentimental value, if nothing else. So yes, June's gone out into the garden, I can just see, but I'll give a glimpse of the kitchen. Well, first of all, a glimpse of my study, absolutely immaculate. There you go, that's as much as you're going to see. And the kitchen, yes, that's a surprise. Tennis on the television, work I did some time ago. Temporary mirrors to let more light in and see wildlife. And we won't go upstairs. Right, now into the garden. So don't forget, this is a plea for help for practical handymen. And the pond, this is a job for the winter, which is, there's a dragonfly flying around there, because we did fix the leak, but then we noticed it's dropping again. Haven't had any rain recently, so we thought fine, let it drop and we may reveal a simple hole to fix. Yes, this is where we tend to sit and enjoy the weather when it's nice. So most of this has not changed for a long time. Somewhere temporarily to put all the bits and pieces that were given to us by friends or relatives, like Three Wise Robins, the Lovelocks, oh, lots more stuff, including stuff that June bought on holidays. Yeah, practical things there, like what's the temperature there? Yeah, according to that, coming up to 20. That's the television, believe it or not, and a computer there as well. So, out into the garden, and that's the telescope that I built the optics for when I was a schoolboy, and no work on that recently. So this patch tends to be June's, particularly the greenhouse, and here's June bringing the washing in by the look of it. Just a glimpse here. This is the washing line, and beyond that we've got compost heaps and things, and there's a pigeon house up there. Wildlife don't seem to be taking things. This is the only Gunnerer manticata which is coming up. We need to go and find somewhere to buy some more if we can. We did buy some a few months ago, but they didn't come up down here legally, that is, on eBay, of course, especially if they're coming from abroad. Right, so this is their second pond. Now, I'm making this tour unnecessarily long. That's the sundial, and June's agreed recently, recorded in the photo trails, that at the right time of the year, this rose bush that is masking the sundial can be cut right down to a low shrub. So she's agreed to that. It's on the record as well. Now, what has been going on in the last month, or if we're talking about this video, last couple of weeks or so, is little bits of more space. Like, this is a logical place to put the paint. Haven't got round to putting it in the right place, and the brushes and all the tools in the same sort of places. Now, we had started this work, and I've got a light here because most of this stuff is solar powered. Yeah, so that's where the work is needed, which is to go through all the stuff we've got and put stuff in the right places. So, for example, drills tend to be in the same place as hammers and files, but this is just a rough thing. And yes, that was something I did recently, found out how to straighten that bent fork. Right, with all these things I expect it to be a short intro, but these things can be useful. It may not be obvious why. Right, so I think we're getting to the stage of me running into the photo trails, so I may as well do it from about here, and right at the end there'll be a clip that was shot whenever it was 18 months earlier. Two subjects, the important subject of global warming and the prophetic words of James Lovelock, and in short, you haven't seen anything yet. And the other is my experience is with the DVLA, the UK Driver Vehicle Licensing Agency. Anyhow, you can make your own judgments on those things, but most people won't bother to watch hardly any of it. Anyhow, into those long photo trails. Tuesday the 20th of August 2024, starting with a summary of the photos that appear later. Yes, that's Toadie helping, and also Bentley guarding the boat that was out on test, and a lot of the time was spent tracking down the problems with the boat. And yes, publication of the mid-August 2024 video onto YouTube, and that meant getting up in the middle of the night, and also popping over to Slough Radio Control Models following an email from Roy, and that was well worth a visit. And good that they're still trading. That came away with a couple of servos. And yeah, women off to tennis again. That's second time in the day. I did the closed circuit TV check. Yes, foxes arriving at the front and the back after the peanuts. 3 foxes there at the same time. Yeah, check the boat and Bentley, and women are on their way back. Yeah, so time for bed, and that was after coming down in the middle of the night to kick off the YouTube upload. So now there's the photos in the order they were shot, and yeah, glances in the garden, several things going on at the same time. Yes, the sundial, and yeah, nothing new there really. And into the area where I'm gradually making more progress to create space for tools, and day by day as a background activity. And that's the lab area or laboratory, and there's some of those servos suitably labelled. The key thing with servos for the robot boats is they've got to be reliable. You want them to run for months without failure continuously. Oh yes, that was an email from Roy that prompted me to check out Slough Radio Control Models. Sorry about that blank screen. And wasn't that long a run, and June agreed after lunch to take me there. So we went off, and yes, any journey, make use of using it to check the trackers. So past a few landmarks. The village has been tarmacked, and they painted white lines everywhere now. So it's a big improvement on what it's been in recent years. So past the edge of Ascot, and over the Thames. Yeah, so basically we're into the Slough area, and yeah, they're the same place that I had been recently, and it was great looking around. And they're going to carry on trading. Clearly, it was just they're getting rid of Futaba stock. So on our way back now, the 3 tons. Yes, old pubs are usually landmarks. Over the Thames again, past those little statues, past Blackness Gate, I think that was, and Cheapside, and into Sunninghill village, past the cinema and the Raj Vuj and 3-1 Barbers. Accra is one of the trackers. There's the servos I bought. Yeah, and the price was good. The key thing is, what's the reliability for testing? And so it's a case of putting them on regular tests. So they've been labelled with Tipex and ink, and yes, there's Toady relaxing in the garden as June, and playing with bits of stick and things. Yes, so that was the test rig, and that was intended to check out power, but as well as the servo reliability. But the key thing is, we discovered we've got a major problem with the solar panels. It could be all sorts of things, maybe more than one, but the key thing is the panels that I bought lots of weren't delivering the current, which was half an amp, 500 milliamps at typically 5 or 6 volts. So a lot of time was spent double checking that, and one that had arrived was giving the sort of high current I'd expect. It was smaller, but yeah, that indicated that not sure what we're going to do about it. Anyhow, there's Toady relaxing, and playing with what I was messing around with the meter, measuring voltages and currents and putting things back and June's rustled up food for the evening. Yes, those elastic bands are now on that plane, and yeah, realised that the bird feeders needed topping up, so out there with peanuts, looking down, yeah, top those up as well, and halfway down the garden, that bird feeder, yeah, empty, look, top it up. And where else? Yeah, it looks like the women are off to tennis for the second time in the day. Oh, he says, yes, I didn't know about that one, so write that down in the diary. And yes, there's a box coming for the peanuts, and there's at the back, and there's 3 of them all at the same time. And it was interesting in seeing the interaction. Yeah, one had a growl at the other, but it was only a few seconds, and then they carried on eating. Yes, very young foxes. So that was through to 04:51 GMT when the camera switched to colour for the day. So no running back from midnight. And yeah, same sort of visits by animals. Didn't see a hedgehog that night, but yeah, foxes front and back. And yeah, through till 1931 GMT when the camera switched to black and white for the night. So that's the closed circuit TV check done. Yeah, check the trackers. Yeah, that's not only the white SOS GoTop tracker, but also the Spot T2, the SATCOMS tracker of the same type that's going in the boat. The one is staying in the boat at the moment, but that's a spare one. And anybody can see where these trackers are just by going to the contact page. And there's where I am, just here. And there's June, or her tracker, and there's Toadie relaxing at the back. There's Bentley on guard duty, and that's working well. That servo's still running, left on continuous test, just change the battery every now and again. Bentley's decided, right, to come across, and I checked the video processing. That's quite a long job, you know, hours and hours, but it's coming along, and it wasn't completed till the well, late in the night. So yeah, that's with June on her way back with Samantha. Yes, they've arrived. So yeah, there's the tracker on her bunch of keys, and yes, scribbled down in the notes there. Listen to the Radio 4 News, I think that was. That's looking at the progress of the processing of that video for middle of August, I think that one was. And yes, check things outside, including the robot boat, and oh yes, the Google profile. Yeah, was able to change the picture. That was fairly easy to do. And yeah, there's Toadie out in the back garden. Could see him on the closed circuit TV. So I left the video uploading. This is onto YouTube, and yeah, and it did actually arrive, but the picture was wrong, or at least that's the picture it shows, and I don't think it was a particularly good picture, but anyhow, that was the end of the photo trail, and that was fixed later. Wednesday the 21st of August 2024, starting with a summary, and Bentley out the front with Toadie, supposedly, but it was brought in because I got to the point of finding out that the problem was due to the, well, they were practically wrecked, the panels at the front, and ordered some more and took a trip out. First of all, somewhere it had been a year before, photographic exhibition, completely empty, but I had a walk round. It was interesting, and yeah, perhaps it's about promotion of the empty factory space or office space. yeah, but that was simply useful. Trip to Bray Lake on the way back, and that's ready for testing of the boat when the boat's ready. Back home, yes, there's Bentley and Toady. Check the trackers. Anybody could see where we were. Contact page has got links. Yeah, that's the trip to Bray Lake. And yeah, then in the evening there was a meeting at the Ascot Football Club, and June met up with some of her tennis friends, and it was all to do with planning permission for buildings going on near the centre of Ascot. And yeah, that's the visit on the trackers. Ascot United Football Club. And yes, saw the peanuts were needed topping up, so I did that. And closed circuit TV check for the night before, and then I saw live a hedgehog, so I went out and took a picture of it. And yes, so this is the check running forward from midnight, and usual pattern of young foxes. And then the day before, yeah, so that was that. Ordered that set of solar panels. Time for bed. So that's the summary. So now into the photos in the order that they were shot pretty well. And yeah, so I've been checking to find out what is it that's failed on that boat, because it's not given the same power. Could have been lots of things, and it could be more than one thing. I certainly found solder joints that were bad. Yeah, nobody looking over my shoulder. That's going on 24/7 test, which is different types of servo. I say type, brands, and also batches, realising things change over the years. And oh yeah, it's June doing a bit of shopping at Waitrose. And then I've got a tracker as well, of course. And what other trackers? Well, we've got June's tracker, we just saw, and the Spot T2 tracker, which is the spare tracker boat, Satcoms. And yes, June's Go Top tracker shows her on the way back, so I better look busy, hadn't I, when she gets back. Yes, that worked quite well. And it's only might be a minute behind. And yeah, so help her carry the shopping in, and Samantha came down and also helped putting that away. And yes, the tracker was pretty well good enough. And check the other one, they're working well enough. And of course that one was upside down in the car. So I put it up the right way. That's the spare Spot T2 tracker. It's in a little plastic box. And yeah, check voltages. So that's the main activity. It's been going on for some time now, diagnosing where the problems are. There's probably more than one problem. Well, there have been several different problems found, and they all come down to the same thing: a very low voltage out of the solar powered system. Recording the commentary for the video for the day before, like I'm doing for this one. And what else have we got? Yeah, checking the trackers again. That one is now caught up after I put it up the right way. Then the exhibition that I saw where it was, and yeah, it wasn't much more than half an hour's trip. In fact, June remembered off the top of her head without the sat-nav, having visited the last one. So here's a few landmarks going through the village with nice white lines there in the village, that was, and a route out which is in the direction of Slough basically. And we're getting closer now, under the railway. In fact, this place was pretty well adjacent on the north edge of White Waltham airfield, but you had to get to it from the A4. Yeah, so getting into the business park now, and there's the photo exhibition, same place as we had been before. I took a few pictures, ones that caught my eye. I like that one. And but completely empty. No people, either exhibitors or people coming like us to take a look. But good that they still continue with those. So now we're making our way back, and then we had a blockage. Road had been blocked by the route that June took, which was a reasonable approach, so we took a diversion, ended up going through Bray Village, and yes, decided pop into Bray Lake Water Sports, see if anything's changed, and they'd been working on that, not sure whether you call it a cesspit or whatever, but it's completely different from last visit. Seems the great big chunks of iron that were there were just there because the ground was soft. Spoke to the lovely couple of guys. Well, they may not think they were lovely. And yeah, so coming back through Fifield, that is. Oh yeah, that looks like an old vintage bus. And yeah, not sure what's going to happen about that pub. That was the Wells pub many years ago. Into Sunninghill, past the Cords Hall, the cinema, through the middle of the High Street, and yeah, Sun Cafe, Free One Barbers, and yes, White Lines nicely painted now after tarmacking. There's the two pussycats. Certain amount of well, not quite, I wouldn't have said as far as play fighting, but Toadie was obviously up to mischief, and but anyhow, no, nothing much happened there. Perhaps it's because I was watching them. So what's that? Oh yeah, checking the trip we'd made, and there it is on the tracker, and then across to Bray Lake. Yeah, so my little walk up to Snoopy's base, and yeah, back here, and then the Spot T2 spare Spot Satcoms tracker. Yeah, that didn't work. It turned out, I think it was how it was positioned, but it was okay there. And the one that's in the boat now, the boat has been moved from outside into the back. That's the spot tracker, and yes, all the junk. And I decided to try and find out what the situation is with those solar panels, and it was in a terrible state. Yes, certainly lessons learnt there. That idea of the fast glass resin, it may not be such a good idea. Stuff had actually broken inside there. I don't know, black wire syndrome or whatever you call it, but don't think that actually affects the electricity flow. It's just awkward if you want to solder something again, you've got to clean it. Yeah, measured up, and thought, yes, I'm going to have to replace those. The problem has always been whether you find the right product. But I did find something, and it was stocked in the UK and actually offered delivery the next day, so that's been ordered. Might come today when I'm recording this. There's these. So right, we're off now to the SPAE meeting, Society for Protection of Ascot and the Environment, and it's over at the, yes, near the railway, little model railway. Some enthusiasts still meet there. Yes, it was at the United Club, and I didn't take any pictures in there, but that was the her friends from tennis that went along, because they're very interested, to say the least, in buildings going on adjacent to the tennis courts. So back through the village. Yes, that's where those white lines have been nicely painted after the tarmacking, and that's the cover, which might be temporary, but that's exactly the sort of thing that's needed there where that had sunk. That was, must have been a year or two back that I did the video for that. Yeah, and that shows on the tracker where we visited, and then the Spot T2 spare tracker. Yeah, that looks okay, and then June's tracker. Close enough. So getting late in the evening now. Yeah, peanuts need topping up. You could see that on the closed circuit TV, so went out on the roof and topped them up. Yeah, looking down, top up those. So there's always plenty of peanuts for, or whatever it is. Pussycats don't eat the peanuts. They do watch for things like mice that come after them. And that's the feeder near the second pond, topped up now. Obviously birds, particularly pigeons, tend to come down a lot, as well as all the other wildlife like squirrels and hedgehogs and foxes. And there's a hedgehog. That's live, I think. So I go out and take some photos of it directly. Obviously it heard me coming, so it was starting to get away. Right, through the closed circuit TV, check from midnight forward. Yes, young foxes coming for the peanuts at the front. 3 at one time. Well, 2 there, you see. Yes, very young. And through till 04:47 GMT when the camera switched to colour for the day. Now running back from midnight. Yeah, same sort of pattern of foxes. And what else? Oh yes, there's Toady down the end of the garden. You can see his eyes caught. And yes, that's this is from the previous evening or night. 1934 GMT when the camera switched to black and white for the night. So that's done. And yes, ordered those solar panels. Fingers crossed. I ordered 6. Need 4 if I replace all of them, but you can't beat getting spares. So that's the end of the photo trail. Thursday the 22nd of August 2024, starting with a summary. Yes, that's Toady relaxing in our garden, which he does most of the time. And I did do a little bit of a repair on his fort at the front. Simple job. Yes, he kept an eye on most things I was doing. And yes, it was pub lunch with the grumpy old men at the Duke of Edinburgh Woodside. That was enjoyable conversations, including I got back, did a quick check on 1 or 2 things like emails and the tracker. Yes, anybody could have seen where I went, including over to Stewart's for coffee afterwards with the guys. And then back home, yes, looking at the boat. Definitely needs those solar panels, which we hoped we'd get that day, the next day delivery. But yeah, then closed circuit TV checks, foxes coming both at the front and the back for the peanuts, and a hedgehog. So the hedgehog is still visiting. Look at the boat. Yes, that's where solar panels are needed. And I did update the blog to keep a record, anybody could see what was going on. So time for bed. So that's the end of the summary. So now into the photos in the order they were shot, starting off with a very untidy games room. And yes, confirmation that the order had been shipped and that I should have been getting it that day. But right, what else have we got? Yeah, relaxing, probably waiting for the guys, looking at the closed circuit TV live, including the pigeons coming for the peanuts. And yes, coming up to midday, and there's Stuart arriving on schedule, acting as chauffeur since I'm not able to drive. And there's 1 or 2 shots taken on the way and to the Duke of Edinburgh at Woodside. Quick glance at the menu. Yes, enjoyed that. That's just for the record, the food we were eating. Basically a very enjoyable meal and conversations. Then we leave. I pop back in to check a few things like emails. Oh yes, a glance of that job that's been done there. To be checked out, fingers crossed. And yeah, confirmed. Yeah, looking, that's the tracker. Anybody could see where I've been. And there we are at the Duke of Edinburgh. And where I'm going now is round to Stewart's for coffee. Leave the ladies there. No pictures inside the house. And right, back home after enjoyable coffee. Yes, that shows my walking back. Anybody could have seen that. And check. Yes, according to that, UPS are delivering. I didn't in fact get the delivery, but I'm recording this the next day, and it was delivered. And the sad news is the capacity of the panels was about the same, about 10% of the power, like all the others that I've bought in recent years. Very different to the specs. Anyhow, that's yes, that's the repair. Go to the right place for tools. Right, there's some screws, there's the drill. So, quick job there. Yes, let Toady have a go. Don't think he's capable of doing it. And then I thought, there's a good means of clipping up that long pole, one of the garden tools. Toady watching, sat on the sundial. Yeah, water's dropped in the pond. I'm keeping an eye on that. See whether it reveals any holes. Right, dinner late in the evening. Yes, look at closed circuit TV for the night before. Young foxes coming to the front for peanuts. You can tell they're young. And at the back, triggering the PIR light. 2 there. And then that's 0501 GMT when the camera switched to colour for the day. So now running back from midnight. Same sort of pattern. And there's a hedgehog coming for the peanuts and triggering the light and coming for some peanuts. Through till 1926 GMT when the camera switched to black and white for the night. So that's the closed circuit TV check done. Another glance at the boat. Yes, hope those panels come. And they did, of course. Updated the blog so anybody could see the progress, and I've got a record of what work's been done, including identifying where work needs to be done. So, time for bed. That's the end of the photo trail. Friday the 23rd of August 2024, starting with a summary of the photos shot. Yes, that's Toady, keeping an eye on the work I've been doing, including on the bug palaces. And yes, most of the photos are related to the nitty-gritty of work on the robot boat. And we got to the stage of sticking down the solar panels at the front, and that meant a trip to Wicks to get more of the silicon sealant that is used for the job. So I've got plenty of that now. Yes, so it's the nitty-gritty of that. And yes, putting out the peanuts at the back end of the day and started to check more thoroughly the batteries that are going in the boat. June rustled up dinner, take that into the naughty corner in the lounge, check out the closed circuit TV for the night before, including visits of young foxes front and back for the peanuts. And that's the end of the summary. So now into the photos in the order they were shot. Yes, the key thing is 0.38 of an amp, 380 amps, 380 milliamps is what you'd hope in sunlight, and so that was the key thing. I also checked voltages. So the solar panels I'd bought in recent years, including the last batch, if the sun is out, they deliver what you'd expect. So hopefully they're going to be okay. So it's a matter of soldering them down and gluing them in position with the well tested over years silicon sealant. Oh yes, and I reported the progress on a new blog 11 that was a little smaller, and I already had visits very quickly. So guys, and of course you know the guys in terms of very few people visit. Oh yes, a surprise visit from this guy, in fact from Ireland, but with Spanish roots going back. I googled it up and I'd forgotten the history, right back to the late 1500s, and well, the tragic loss of those Spanish galleons. And Anyhow, you never know. Maybe some work here for him or his friends or family. Yes, we're all seen there. So there's June and I off on air trip. And every trip we use it a chance to test things, but this is mostly for silicon sealant for the sticking those solar panels down. And so checking out here, that's tools needed for the job. Oh, there's Toady guarding. I repaired one of those bug palaces. And of course we've got this black wire corrosion, and so sandpaper is the way that I scrub those, basically in order to get solder onto it. And of course that's what's shown up when I took those panels off, was the damage. Not quite clear why, but that resin probably didn't help, might have hindered. So a more flexible thing like sealant is probably better. So putting things back in the right place, even if it's a temporary location, like the carving knife. So the carving knife was used to remove some of the excess dried sealant from whenever that was, probably a couple of years ago, and that was a simple solution for holding the panels in place, elastic bands, when I had enough sealant. So that's where I keep the silicon sealant, but it's practically empty, hardly any left. So obviously I need more of that. And a bit of soldering work. Yeah, of course I splashed the solder. Yeah, silly boy. So it's easily cleaned off though. And that's how I was using, because I had a fair bit of the clear sealant, but not very much. I put that clear sealant down in the middle bit. But still didn't need, so I needed more. So it was a case of wanting to take a trip out to probably the nearest Wicks, and we thought, wow, Knapp Hill. So a few photos taken through the village, past a few landmarks, and through Sunninghill, through Chobham, and we're going to Knapp Hill, which is Wicks, Woking, the Garibaldi pub, and into Wicks. Came out with plenty of that, so that'll not only cover the work I'm doing now on the boat, but should last for quite a while after. Back home, and yes, struggling to carry all that stuff. Dumped it down, listened to the Radio 4 news, and yes, glued the two panels at the front down. Obviously this is after soldering, and put the silicon sealant back in the right place in the workshop area. So what else is going on here? Yeah, time to top up the peanuts, including down the garden near the second pond. There's the gunner still coming up, and the peanuts out the front, and yes, top up the peanuts in the peanut feeder. That's a practical way of doing it without spilling it, just using the little pot that goes in the top. That's to stop things going in the bottom, in there, and getting trapped. So what else? Oh yes, that's the test rig, as I call it, used to check out batteries, have to recharge them of course, and also the servo. So that is now looking on the tracker. Anybody interested say, oh, it looks like we went into Wicks at Woking, and yeah, so that's working. And then the spare Spot T2 tracker that we normally carry in the car, well, didn't work perfectly, but then that could have been that where it was placed in the car, especially when we're travelling, isn't it? Anyhow, everything seems to be okay. Yes, just pointing out. And the batteries I might well use, a brand I haven't come across before, but the key thing is testing. June's rustled up dinner, I take it into the naughty corner in the lounge, and also do the closed circuit TV check, running forward from midnight. Yes, there's young foxes coming to the front. 05:05 GMT is when the camera switched to colour for the day. Now running back from midnight. Yes, young foxes again, and at the back as well, all after the peanuts. And cameras switched at 1921 GMT to black and white for the night, and then there live was a little fox on the front porch coming for the peanuts. So time for bed, and that's the end of the photo trail. Saturday the 24th of August 2024, starting with the summary of the photos shot. Yes, there's Toadie prowling around the garden, there's Bentley looking after the robot boat that is now, getting very close to be ready. The solar panels have been put on the front, batteries put inside, obviously everything needs to be tested and put out the front for 24/7 testing, static testing. June did the shopping, and of course the tracker showed her on the way back. I helped her out with the shopping. Back end of the day, June rustles up the food, lasagna I think, take it into the naughty corner where I can see the pigeons live arguing about the peanuts, and do the closed circuit TV check for the night, showing the young foxes coming to the front and the back. And so that's the end of the summary. So now, as best I can, here's the photos in the order they were shot. Yes, it looks as I went out, and we had a bit of rain, and so I was keeping an eye. The pond did rise an inch or two, and I looked at the rain radar and things, may appear later, thinking we might get more, but anyhow, going down the garden, yes, probably stuff related to the robot boat. And what are we doing there? Oh yes, because of the rain, puddles, outstanding work to be done related to drains being blocked by silt. Looked at the rain radars on different websites, and yes, the Met Office site, you have to use things in the right way, but anyhow, we didn't get much on the top of the hill in Sunninghill. Yeah, processing of the video from the day before, a video WhatsApp chat early in the day, checking that we'll be okay for the visit the next day, which is today. There's a blank screen, not happened there. Oh, looking for a scrap of wood, which I've decided to protect the corners of that solar panel at the front. And so going to the workshop, I didn't need the vise, so I just used the Surform to take the edges off, the corners off. That's where it's going to go. So I glued it in place, and that's the right material. Cody inspecting what I'm doing. Put things back in the right place, following June's instructions. Well, not tidying up needed there as well, but the International Perfection, yes, had been knocked over ages ago. It dried up, but I thought it was still worth using without the hardener for that bit of wood at the front. A bit of soldering there, getting battery packs ready to go into the boat. Of course, everything's got to be thoroughly tested, but using different brands on the left hand side and the right hand side. So checking voltages. You can, if you freeze frame, you'll see what I'm checking, but basically the voltages on the left side, the right side, and the combined side after using diodes to bring them together for the main power. So what's next? Oh yes, June rustled up lunch for me, scrambled egg on toast with smoked salmon. And still checking voltages and things. Of course, the boat's inside in the games room when I'm doing these checks, and you can't do enough testing. Then what happens when I switch it on, and of course that's charging up batteries, because they're standard radio control battery packs, just using it for an unconventional purpose. Yeah, that's looking at the water has come up a bit in the pond, even though we didn't get a lot of rain. Yes, there's Toadie relaxing in the back garden. Yes, that's the test rig, and at the moment I'm using that to test the reliability to death of a servo. Oh, that's something else. That's the GPS logger, and I still haven't worked that one out. I still seem to be just looking at data from possibly an earlier copy of the logger, but at the end of the day, you test things and you may occasionally get help from elsewhere. Right, that's reporting information for anybody interested on progress on the boat. Checking trackers. That's June doing shopping at Tesco, Martin's Heron, not that far away, about 10 minutes from us. And yeah, so continue on the work, measuring voltages. There you can see where that shows up quite clearly where they are. So that's the left side, that's the right side, and that's the combined voltage. That all looks good. So looks like June's on her way back. Ooh, I better go and help her unload the shopping. Yeah, so that's where we are. So she should only take a few minutes to arrive, so I can go out the front. Yes, there's Toadie on guard duty. Seems rather bored. And June should be arriving round the corner there. And yes, there she is. There's Toadie to greet her. There's me on the closed circuit TV doing all that hard work. Oh, terrible. Where's one out? Carrying the washing. Did I say washing? No, stay clear of that. Carrying the shopping in. So, what's next? Yes, where to put the boat out in a good spot for sunshine and ideally within coverage of the cameras. So I decided on that spot. So it gets sun pretty well most of the day, if not direct sunlight, certainly bright sky. And it's need to shift the camera just a fraction. So that's easy enough to do. Just move it around a little bit. And now the whole of the boat is within coverage of the camera. So that's good. And yes, checking voltages again. That was left, right, centre, combined at whatever that is, 6:10 in the evening. Didn't get a chance. Updating the blog with that picture of the boat. It's a bit more information. So I actually added quite a bit more information based on what happened within a few hours. Yeah, there's June rustled up food. There's the pigeons coming for the peanuts on the bird table. And there's 4 of them arguing. You don't often see 4. Yeah, so sent out an email on the 2 Google groups, and it was good to see some visits. Guys obviously followed the link and would have seen what I'd updated. Yeah, checking voltages again, because of course the name of the game is to leave it running, and particularly if you have some days with hardly any sun, with the power drop down to the extent that it stops. Although when you regain power it should restart. That was sorted out in the software years ago, probably by about 2012, 2013. There's the 2 cats in the garden. There's the closed circuit TV check starting from midnight running forward. Yes, young foxes coming to the top bridge just outside the back and at the front, all after the peanuts. Hello, little fox. Through till 05:10 GMT when the cameras switch to colour for the day, and then running back from midnight. Yes, foxes again. And yes, there's that black and white cat, as we call him, from behind us. Yeah, he tends to prowl around occasionally, avoiding contact with other cats like Toadie and Bentley. And there's live, I think that was. No, it wasn't. I was still doing the check. 19:20 GMT when the camera switched to black and white for the night. And now we are to live, and I can see the rudder moving, so I know the boat's working. So I'll go out, have a look at it, confirm. Yes, and there's the logger light flashing on the top. And yes, that's the test rig. Change the battery when needed, make a note of what time I did that, see how long the batteries are going to last on that, and of course how long the servo lasts. You don't know. Yes, lot of tidying up needed in that games room, but it's in the list. So that's the end of the photo trail. Sunday the 25th of August 2024, starting with a summary of lots of photos shot. And yes, pussycats, that's Bertie, David's pussycat, and that's Michelle's lady on the way back. And yes, there's the robot boat on test at the front after having the solar panels fitted at the front. So trip up to Raunds was the major event for a get together with family. Yes, the 3 daughters and sister Sally. And yes, and when we left there, this is just a summary of course, Samantha did the driving back, and Robin was taught how to do multi-person tracking on WhatsApp, or sharing position. Also checked other trackers as well, like the Satcoms trackers, back through the village. Getting close to home now, into Armitage Court and home, with the robot boat outside, and then saw, oh, it stopped. Oh dear, had to check voltages and things. Got to work out what it was that failed. So looked at the track, and that showed one of the trackers stopped. That one, the one I wear. So the solution to that was charging it up and restarting it. Closed circuit TV check for the night. Visits by foxes and a little mouse, all coming for the peanuts at front and back. And could see exactly when the robot boat stopped working, which is 10:54 GMT, 11:54 summertime. Had a light supper and saw foxes live before to bed. So that's the summary. Now in the photos in the order they were shot, starting with Toadie on the front lawn guarding the robot boat that's been put out there. Check voltages, and of course at that time it looked okay. 4.85, 5.80, 5.80. You can freeze the frames if you want to see which it was. Basically the solar panels are glued at the front. Those are 2 replacement ones. Also we've got the test rig running indoors, testing a servo to death. And I put a little bit of paint. I didn't have the hardener for it, but I thought yes, it might dry out, so put a little bit of that there. And yeah, down in the garden, partly to decide yes, where should paint go, and realised another sheet of plywood or something at the back would be a good idea. Another little background job. Yeah, looked at that, reinforced the same thing. Yeah, you can't see the sundial because of June's roses. I wonder whether she'll agree to them being moved to a better place. I doubt it. Yeah, so there's Toadie relaxing in the back garden. I'm basically getting ready for them to be ready for us to leave. So doing a few things early in the morning, processing of the video for the day before, like I am doing now. And yeah, checking the boat. So we're all pretty ready. The intention was to leave at about 11 o'clock. Checking the tracker we're taking with us, and yes, that was working at that stage. Anybody could see that's the Spot T2 spare tracker that's normally in the car. And then the Snoopy's tracker, which is in the boat, and mine that I wear. And that right now is saying just here. So that's where we're planning to go, up to Raunds. It says about 1 hour 52 minutes. It was a lot more than that as it turned out, due to diversions. Yeah, that's recording the sound commentary for the day before, like I'm doing for this one. And yeah, charged up the tracker that we were taking with us, put it at the front at the moment. We're taking Samantha's car, because the intention is Samantha to come back. So we've got some WhatsApp family messages being exchanged. Yeah, so Oh yes, I had to change my trousers apparently. I had bits of paint and stuff on them, so they wanted to create a good impression. Yeah, so that's taking the charger lead for the camera so that I can keep that charged up, because it would go flat taking lots of photos. And I took a lot on the journey there and back that I didn't plan to because of the interesting events, like getting a little bit lost due to a traffic diversion. Right, we're going through the village now, village of Sunninghill, through the landmarks. That's the school on the left, that's the cinema on the right, and coming, yes, and one of the things we did is find out how to use the sat-nav that Samantha's hardly checked out. I think she said it was about 10 years since she checked it soon after buying the car, and it ended up, it was a bit unconventional in terms of what the user interface was, but it ended up it was pretty well okay. It's just a question of familiarising yourself how to go to various modes. So I was comparing that with Google Maps on my smartphone, and of course I could check my tracker, anybody could see where I was. That's the, yeah, it shows queues of traffic as well on that system that is in Samantha's car. So this is on our journey up, and that tracker wasn't working, so perhaps it needed restarting or something. Anyhow, yeah, it seems to be okay now. And that's my tracker, and yes, I think that was working okay at that stage. Yeah. Speaking ahead of the script, my tracker stopped just before we got there, and we decided it was because on that journey it was making regular reports and probably ran the battery flat. Yeah, that was some phone calls, including with Saskia, I think, confirming, because they were gonna, then there were some WhatsApp messages as well. They were going to pick up Michelle travelling by public transport from Northampton, and so there were two cars going up basically, and Michelle was using public transport from Coventry. So you see me flipping between things like the sat-nav on the car, that's Samantha's car, and yeah, because June's drove up, but she doesn't like driving back at night, so and we weren't sure what time it would be leaving, so it was a good solution. Fingers crossed. Ah yes, messages with Michelle. Managed to find her cat Lady in time to go and catch whatever it was, probably a train or something, or bus, I don't know. And then looks like we were low on fuel, and so there was a bit of a queue there because one of the guys hadn't paid and his car was blocked, and probably it was a very popular time and place anyhow, but eventually we got topped up. I sent a WhatsApp message, delay by guy not paying, and at least I believe that's what the situation was. So we're getting close to David's place, across the road from where Sally was for years. Yes, we'll all arrive okay. Yeah, check the time. Yeah, a bit later than we thought, but still okay. And there's that's Bertie apparently in their garden. So yes, Lady's been introduced to the family as well. I don't think David and Sally have met Lady yet. Yes, hello Sally. And yes, there you go. Very difficult when you're taking photographs, because some people don't want their photographs taken, but oh yes, some lovely food there. Yeah, so then checking my tracker, and it still shows it back at the filling station, so that wasn't working. So anybody looking on that contact page, unless they check the other trackers as well, hello, there's a little baby in the family, and there's Bertie, all relaxing, and everybody enjoying themselves. Hello, Bertie. Bertie's taking it easy. Yeah, so we're now on our way back, and the difference is that Samantha's driving and sets the car to the destination being home. I had a bit of a doze for a few minutes, but soon woke up. In acute traffic, they're there. As I say, the user interface was different, and also the family WhatsApp group. Michelle explained over my shoulder what things to tap on, like the little paperclip, and then share position. So in fact what we had were at one point 3 people being tracked, and when we were in the same place, like Michelle's phone and my phone, it came up with a different symbol. So that's me, that is Saskia and Gary on the same bit of road, but and that's when there's 2 people at the same position, it shows a different symbol, a 2 with a split of the icon. That's working quite well. It's the first time I'd used that, and joking, I say yes, it's what I was doing with my software. Goodness me, when was that? Well, certainly early 90s, multi-vehicle tracking, but also chase mode, and I imagine that facility is in there so that you can say, guide me to my friend or family, their tracker. I'm sure that capability is there, it's just a matter of knowing. So yeah, coming back through some familiar haunts, and yeah, probably when I look a bit confused, it's wondering why something isn't working right, but most of the stuff seems to be okay. So yes, yeah, we're coming along the A30, I recognise that, past the Holloway College on the left, and getting the Wheatsheaf pub. Nice that it's still got the name there rather than the brand of whoever the company is. And past Crossways, where Samantha's family were, into Sunninghill, and past the Cords Hall, the cinema, and Chapman's Ironmongers, over the bridge, Barbers, Tesco, that's new, Comrades Club on the right, all the nice white lines painted on new tarmac, and home at 22, and the boat. And of course I see the rudder's not waggling, so it stopped. Oh dear. So check a few other things. That test rig is working okay, but take the meter in, check voltages. So yes, now there may be more than one fault there that are connected or disconnected, but the left hand side voltage was low, but since it uses the combined power, it shouldn't be power that's the reason it stopped. Could be the servos packed up. All those things will be checked out later, not that day on the Sunday. Oh, that was something that it turns out it was a new house for lady that Saskia had given Michelle, and a bit bigger than the usual one. And I diagnosed the problem with the trackers, the fact that mine had stopped in that filling station before we got there, was power basically. And I think because we were moving continually, and so the setting was to send at least one report every minute, that would probably consume power a bit quicker. That's just running off its internal battery. Of course, normally just charge it overnight in its charger. And that's June's tracker, and that worked okay as far as there. And then there's the spare spot tracker that I put in the car for checking, and that had worked up until getting there okay. That worked well. And then the spot tracker that's in the boat, and yes, that's at the correct position. So that's a case of restarting mine to make sure that it works. It wasn't Took a while to work it out. It wasn't just a case of charging it up. I had to switch it off and then switch it on again. There are probably lots of reasons for that. Doesn't matter. And then it gave the position. It was working. And I put it out on get a good signal on Robin's corner, and sure enough, within no time it was at the right position. So I took that back, put it back on charge for the night. So with all these things you find out. Oh yes, looks like a closed circuit TV check for the night. And so running forward from midnight, yes, there's a fox coming to the back bridge for the peanuts. There's one coming on the front porch. And there's a little mouse, you can just see his eyes. And yes, that's not all the visits, but typical. So through till 04:54 GMT when the camera switched to colour for the day, and then running back from midnight, yeah, same sort of thing, foxes on the rear and at the front, young ones of course, and me messing around with the boat through till 1924 GMT when the camera switched to black and white for the night. So, oh yes, then I thought, now when did the boat stop working? So it was working at that time, 10:52 GMT, but not working at 10:54 GMT, so it's about 11:54. But there was nothing corresponding to, for example, a pussycat playing with the boat, so it looks like it just stopped on itself. So, time for bed. That's the end of the photo trail. Monday the 26th of August 2024, starting with this summary of photos shot. Yes, that's Toadie relaxing on the sundial, and yes, the roses are obscuring it and they should be cut down, but June actually agreed to that at the right time of the year. And there's Bentley from opposite, patrolling and keeping an eye on the robot boat out the front. And yes, we got a power problem there, and it works when you switch it on, but then it doesn't after a little while. But anyhow, brought it inside to work on it, and we took a trip out to Wicks, got some plywood for continued work there, all painted white, and a better place to put the shelves, and decided paint could go there. So lots of other things on the go at the same time. June takes a walk down to the Bansalls and I join her, and yes, dog Romeo, and they got work in the garden, and Raj and Ammon came round to, they were after a fork, but they went away. We found a couple of forks, they're both bent, but not to worry. So they went away to that, and that they passed June coming back. And so, yeah, topped up the peanuts, including the peanut feeder at the front, listened to the Radio 4 news, looked at the pigeons live on the closed circuit TV. June rustled up food, took it into the naughty corner where I could relax, and I did the closed circuit TV check for the night, including foxes front and back for peanuts of course. And one of the foxes seemed a bit nervous looking up at the window, and yes, that was because Lady, Michelle's cat, who normally relaxes in her bedroom, was watching. Yeah, so that's the summary. So now into the photos in the order they were shot, starting with Toadie relaxing on the sundial, and me pointing down that the roses ideally should be cut down so not to mask the sundial, and June agreed to it as long as it was the correct time of the, yeah, and I looked at the time, it was coming up to 1 o'clock British Standard Time, which is 12 o'clock midday GMT. And if it wasn't for those roses, you would have seen it clearly. Not to worry. June's relaxing in the garden. I took a few snaps, just recording the fact the pond level is down. It's came up an inch or two, because we had a bit of rain a day or two before. Yes, lots of junk. It's got worse because I'm working on the robot boat. So that's the test rig, and that's working well. Testing a servo to death. The boat that had been on test out the front, yes, there's Lady relaxing in Michelle's bedroom, and that test rig is working well. Checking voltages, and of course the volts are revealing where we have the problem. When we switch on the power, don't know what the problem is yet, but I'm sure it's going to be easily fixed. Just a case of diagnosing it. That's still checks on that. Basically, yeah, can't work it out yet. And that's checking one of the servos on the test rig. That's working. Still more checking voltages. And yes, that's the test rig. Every now and again I change the battery on that after charging it up. There's Lady prowling around, and there's the work. Yes, hello, she's down the end checking out the fort at the back. And here's their trip out, a few places on the way to Wicks at Knapp Hill. Got a bit of plywood that went in the back fairly easily, back over the boundary into Berkshire, into Armitage Court, into 22, and yeah, that's where it's going. So carried that bit of plywood there, put a bit of creosote on the back to help protect it, and screwed it in position. Yeah, painted it white, and then of course I had to wash the brushes, but yeah, because that's watch out for June seeing what I'm doing. But she was busy on the phone chatting to Bal, and I understand that they were on the lookout for a fork or two in the garden. Of course it's easy to find things now. Yes, so we still need to go through the process of putting things in the right place, but we're creating the space for it. And I have made a start, but yeah, hard work it is. So a few shots looking up the garden, have a bit of a relax, see that June's on her tracker is down at the bandsaws. Yeah, closed circuit TV confirmed it was just her, and I thought Michelle might have gone as well. And yeah, so join them past Bentley on guard duty, down into the village. All nice white lines now and tarmac. Yes, several pictures. I like that motorbike, and I like Romeo particularly, because he keeps on insisting that we throw a ball for him, and that's what they were on the lookout for, a fork. It looked as though they may have had one, but oh no, that was probably after they visited back, and yeah, went away with at least one fork, and might have been a pickaxe. Yeah, so topping up the peanuts, including that feeder down on the second pond, opening a new bag of peanuts, and the reservoir of peanuts is out the front. Oh yes, I could see on the closed circuit TV that the one on the roof needs topping up. That's completely empty, so top that up, and also the one on the front porch to discourage birds going down onto the ground, and also topped up the feeder. And yeah, so that's all that done. Probably a little bit more work on the boat, is it? No, relaxing, watching pigeons, and listen to the Radio 4 news. 4 pigeons at the same time. Oh yeah, just looking on the closed circuit TV there. So yes, there's a nice picture of Ammon. Yeah, you're on camera. There you are, look at that's me pointing out the cameras, or some of them. Yeah, so they're going away. I say he went away with a hoe, and that's it. Got a record of what they took away. Usually when we get stuff back, it's in a better state than when we gave it. Like those, Ammon was already seeing how we might straighten those bent forks. Closed circuit TV check running from midnight forward. Yes, there's foxes coming to the front porch, and yes, 2 of them there. Young foxes, of course, on the top bridge. There's getting light now, and the cameras had switched at 04:57 GMT to colour for the day, so now running back from midnight. And yes, similar pattern, foxes at the front.
young fox looking up nervously. I wonder why. And there's a hedgehog. Yes, so the hedgehog is still visiting. Seems as though it's just sort of coming at that time. And there's some other just coming in as the cameras are switching at 1918 GMT to black and white. And I looked at that and I thought, now I wonder when that disappeared. Looked on the closed circuit TV and I could see some pigeons fighting over the peanuts. Must have knocked that ticket out then. So he said, well, went up. No, couldn't see it anywhere on the roof, so don't know what happened to it, doesn't matter. Yeah, checking the test rig, usual thing. When battery runs flat on the test rig, I change it. There's a lady looking at watching the foxes arriving, and they're a bit nervous looking up. They say they can see a pussycat looking down at the window, and they're thinking, oh dear. Checking out that camera, and that needs to sort out its power. It's so that's the end of the photo trail. Tuesday the 27th of August 2024, starting with Toady relaxing on the barbecue. Yeah, we start with a summary of the photo shot. There he is, and yes, you'll see that later. And a bit of work on Snoopy's robot boat, still tracking down wiring problems and things, but I think I fixed that, put him outside and left it on test after checking the voltage. Yeah, so that was one activity going on during the day, and the other one was pub lunch at the Cricketers at Bagshot, the beef eater. So went there and enjoyed the food and the conversations, and yes, then back to Sunninghill and coffee, sat outside. It was nice weather, just a case of finding a shady spot. Women relaxed, like Michelle with her cat Lady, and also during the day that ring camera was getting low on power, so I did some work on that, and June rustled up food. I took it into the naughty corner where I could look at the closed circuit TV for the night before, including foxes and a little mouse. And yes, young foxes. And I could also see the robot boat working there in terms of the rudder waggling, and at that time it was fine. Yes, checked out the ring camera and catch the close-ups of the foxes coming for peanuts. So that's the end of the summary. So now into the photos in the order they were shot, starting with Toady relaxing on our rear patio overlooking a pond that's getting very low, and the boat was probably one of the most important activities in the background, because we're slowly checking out things, and it's all down to testing. So charging up batteries, so different tests going on in parallel, and Toadie's still relaxing. June is at tennis with Samantha. Yeah, the tracker shows that, gives me warning. I'm processing the video for the day before, like I'm doing now. And yes, checking voltage levels. It's not easy to see what the trouble was, because the wiring is so complicated. I was using the voltmeter to trace the voltage from the monitor points at the front through the switches at the back to where the power is picked up. It looks like that processing is finished. I've made a mistake and hadn't given it a name. Excuse me. And yes, looks like they're back from tennis. Yes, and the tracker shows that as well. So, oh yes, getting up to 12 o'clock. So, as it happens, I walked round because Richard was getting separate transport with Mike. And there is Terry B. Terry Bassett, because we've got two Terrys there. Yeah, there's the royal residence, there's the beefeater, the cricketers, and curry. I had to ask the chefs because there was some mistake, I think, and she said there wasn't any curry, but as soon as I asked the chefs, I was, yeah, no problem. So back on our way home, past the Windmill pub, over the border into Berkshire, and yeah, back to my place, or Robin, June and Samantha's place. Oh yes, interested in California Country Park was one of the topics, and yeah, googled that up, found out, and Woodlesham Moor, and yes, so there was stuff that I thought it was royal residence, where the royals lived there, but they rented it from another guy, and then the guy from Dubai bought it and did it up in the early 2000s. There you go. There's Michelle with Lady and Toadie relaxing in the sun in the back garden. Yeah, there's me posing in front of the gunner. It's the only stuff that's come up. The stuff that we bought hasn't down the end. But, oh well, we're one thing at a time. There's Toadie relaxing on the sundial, and yes, lots of junk because I've been doing work on the boat and haven't had a chance to put stuff away. There's the ring camera. That power's getting low, and the solution wasn't just a solar panel. I thought, no, I'll put a little nickel metal hydride battery pack on there as well, so it's supplying power all the time pretty well, and that was a pretty easy job to do. So good old duct tape use at the end. Checked it out, yes, worked fine, and fine adjustment of position to catch what we wanted. Oh yes, that's the bit confusing. It says battery level 13%, but when I checked it later, that hadn't changed. So I suspect there might be a fault there somewhere in the system. I suspect nothing to do with the hardware of the device itself. And yeah, checking the trackers, including my personal tracker. Anybody could see that just by going to the contact page and tapping on the appropriate thing. Yeah, so my tracker was working fine. Yes, anybody watching at the time would have seen spending time at the cricketers, so would have guessed what we're doing. And probably listening to the Radio 4 News then. And a bit of soldering. When getting to the stage, I had to use the torch to see what I was doing. But I definitely found a fault which I corrected. Maybe several faults, of course. But that was in the process of getting the power from the monitor points at the front through to the switches and to where it goes into things like the autopilot. So then switch it on and check it out. Yeah, check the voltages. Put it back at front with that stick to stop it, the wind knocking it over if we do get a strong wind. Check voltages again. Yeah, just fraction below 5 volts. And yeah, so that looked good. So yeah, check the tracker. That's the tracker that's in the boat. And yes, if you click on that spot T, it says boat. And June's called dinner ready, so I collect my dinner and take it into the naughty corner in the lounge where I can see the boat and the rudder waggling on the closed circuit TV, so I know that that's still running. Did the closed circuit TV check for the night before, foxes at the front and at the back, and a glimpse of the eyes of a little mouse. Can't see much more, but you can see him scuttling about, triggering the PIR light as well. And it's getting lighter now. There's a fox on the top bridge just out the back, on the other camera as well. And there's a little young fox at the front. And cameras switching 0505 GMT to colour for the day. So now running back from midnight, there's a couple of foxes coming for the peanuts. They obviously get on alright. They're probably siblings. And yeah, there's one at the back. and Samantha getting back with Toadie. 1915 GMT when the cameras switched to black and white for the night. So that's that done, and the boat was still running. I could see the rudder waggling. Went outside, checked the voltage, yes, 5.02, 5.03, so not a problem there. And listen to the Radio 4 news. Yes, there's probably foxes coming live, being caught. And yeah, check the ring camera at the front. Yeah, getting the close-ups of them. And yeah, it says battery level 12% low, and yet you can see it's charging. That blue light is on. Well, we'll see. And it's functioning as well. So time for bed. So that's the end of the photo trail. Wednesday the 28th of August 2024, starting with a summary of the photo shot. Yes, that's Michelle's cat Lady on guard duty, looking out the front window, keeping an eye on the robot boat, I suppose, and some work was done on that. Several jobs going on at the same time. Yes, one of the trackers shows June on her way back from tennis, so I go out there, and yes, that's her tracker, anybody could see it. And check the other tracker, that's the spare spot satcoms, and then my tracker. And yes, that stopped working, so that's a job in progress. Find out why. And I found one of the faults was a mechanical one. That linkage between servo and rudder was scraping the lid. That's apart from any other problems to be sorted. Yes, that's Toadie, our pussycat, helping. So some of the jobs involved checking voltages, and yeah, the ring camera had to do a job on that, and straighten the one of the spokes on the garden fork. Found out how to do that with a bit of iron tubing. Yes, we took our trip out. First of all, we went to 2 chandlers and didn't find the paint I was looking for. Popped into Addison Models on the way back. So long trip out, but when we got back, yes, Toadie was on guard duty, keeping an eye on the boat. And yes, it was day to top up the graph from the Office of National Statistics. Take Michelle out to spend a day or two with Saskia and Gary. And there's Bentley when we got back, the cat from opposite. He's the senior guard cat. And yeah, back end of the day, take food into the naughty corner in the lounge, where I can look at the closed circuit TV. Yes, foxes coming for the peanuts at the front and the back. Yes, young foxes they are. And also see them live on the ring camera. Yes, and that's Lady relaxing. So that's the end of the summary. So now into the photos in the order they were shot, starting with Lady looking out the front window. And I'm wondering what problems to be fixed next on the boat. So yes, that's June on the way back. Some of these pictures will be a bit blurred. That's the untidy games room, particularly untidy because I've been working on the boat and don't have time to put things away. So yes, that's definitely a job to be worked on. That looks like June on her way back from tennis with Samantha. It's June's white SOS Go Top tracker. Yes, there they are arriving. I walked out there a minute or two before they arrived. And yes, there's the spare spot satcoms tracker, and there's the Go Top tracker. So that's working okay. And then anybody can look on the contact page, and then it's got shortcuts. So the spots, I call it spot T2, it's the spare one. And yeah, that showed. And my tracker, again, anybody can see it, but it looks as though that data, yeah, that position is here, but it hadn't been updated recently. You know, that we're looking at the satcoms tracker there, Yeah, Spot T. Oh, Spot T, that is the one that's in the boat. Just there. Put the lid back on. And I seen that scrape. Yeah, and that's caused by that arm. In fact, it's the little nuts, or rather bolts. Yeah, so I thought most make a little window, so I cut out that bit of the notice inside the lid. Yes, ladies keeping an eye on what I'm doing. Yeah, so you can actually see that through the lid, and of course the key thing is you don't want it to scrape the lid. But anyhow, so you can see the rudder moving, but you can also see the linkage moving. And then I was thinking, perhaps the problem might also be due to a lack of a stop. In the same way that round the other way, there's a stop on the rudder. So if for any reason, could be all sorts of reasons, it went too far, that might cause a problem. So that's one of the activities. And going down, often going for materials, and you say something to be done, I'm thinking, yes, oh yes, I was looking for some screws and a drill for actually putting that rudder stop. Well, I'm not sure what you call it. It's a servo arm stop. It might be okay. And try switching it on. Check the voltages, the main power. So it's a routine check. And making sure tools are going in the right place, and you know where to find the tools. So gradually getting progress on that. Yeah, so that little window I put amongst the bits from the boat, mostly damaged bits from the last mission, but they're very useful for reference. Yes, under the Gunroom Antiquata. It's only that one that's there. Oh, that's nice. That's the wild fennel from Sicily that's grown nicely. Flavouring for pasta con sard, pasta with sardines. Yes, doing the recording for the video for the day before, like I'm doing now for this one. That's not working, so that's the power switch, or one of the two, they're duplicated. And that still seems to be okay. So we're still tracking down usually more than one problem, and that's what makes it more difficult to diagnose a problem if there's more than one of them. Yes, that looks like Lady Michelle's pussycat relaxing in the back garden with June. Right, and there's scrape marks on the lid. That's even after I removed that paper. So I need to change that linkage so it is not doing that. And the main problem with those two bolts that poked up, so in fact it's a very simple solution. That thing that joins the two bits of wire for the linkage, right, it's going on to another subject there, which is the lots of things happening, one thing after the other. So that was my lunch snack. Yeah, so popping out, checking voltages and things. Yes, straightening out the bent spoke on one of the garden forks. Simple solution. That bit of old iron tubing, steel tubing, beg your pardon. And right now thinking about we take a trip out, and I fancy getting some more because the other stuff had dried up. International Perfection 2-part paint. You tend to get that from a chandlery, a marina. So we go off to the marina where I last bought some, and yes, past a few landmarks on the way, including the wheat sheaf, nicely spruced up now with paint. So we get there. This is Shepperton Marina, and so it's fairly easy to go in there. Spoke to the people, but actually didn't have the particular product in stock. So then we swung past another one, Penton Hook I think that was, where I'd been to another part of it years ago, but not the bit that, yes, and then passed out of some models I was thought they might have something well I was looking for, but as it happened they didn't. Not to worry. So bit of a few diversions there. Didn't come back with anything for a change. So on our way back home now, back into Sunningdale, past Chapman's in Sunninghill. Yes, my barbers must get a haircut soon. And Bentley to greet us on guard duties out on one of the cars. Yes, keeping an eye on the boat, I suppose. And yes, that was what we planned to do. Then I thought, right, look at June's tracker, and that shows the details of where we stopped. Or June did. She waited with the car when went into the marina. So that was all working okay, including stopping at Addleston. And then I looked at the Spot T2 spare SOTCOMS tracker. Yes, and it doesn't report as often, but that worked. Looks like I then checked the voltage on the boat. Oh yes, update the COVID graph that's on the COVID page from the Office of National Statistics. Shows information far beyond COVID. Right, that was a check of voltages at times, and there's that scraping. So then, yeah, it's got a problem there. That mechanical scraping is probably contributing to the boat stopping, probably drawing more power and all sorts of things. Right, time to give Michelle a lift over to Saskia and Gary's over at Yateley. Michelle and Saskia are going to spend a little bit of time down on the south coast, I think. So a few places on the route. Ah yes, the elm tree. And yes, past the elephant, a known landmark of Camberley, and where that's the Ely pub, into Yateley, and Little Vigo. Park the car, and yes, say hello to the pussycat next door. Then we're off back past again the pubs as landmarks along the A30, past Sandhurst Military Academy, and where else have we got there? Oh yes, entrances into the Royal Estate and the Cricketers Beefeater, I think that was. Cross the border into Berkshire, into Armitage Court, and there's Bentley waiting, relaxing in the sunshine. Yes, there's a robot boat there. Yeah, so that definitely needs work doing on it. And those two bolts you can see coming up, that's the source of that problem. That's easily done by simply rotating it. Obviously unscrewed it first. So that was a very simple solution there, look. And now, when the rudder is being moved backwards and forwards by the servo, it's not rubbing against the plastic. Hello, Toadie. You want to help me with the work? Checking the voltages now. That's switching it. Switch it on, and yeah, coming up to 8 o'clock. Hopefully that'll be alright. Oh, there's Bentley across the road. Hello, Bentley. You coming over? Toadie's eating. June's rustled up food. So I'll take mine as usual from the kitchen into the naughty corner in the lounge. Oh yes, and that's another little job to do, which is the, yeah, it's working now, which is the ring camera. There are lots of things all going on. Getting dark, as you can see, the navigation lights come on. Yes, that's the tracker that's been playing up. Not sure the reason for that problem, so working on it. And that went into the next day. Yes, there's the foxes coming for the peanuts at the front. That's the peanut feeder. And at the back of the bridge, and there's a very relaxed young little fox there, through till 05:05 GMT when the cameras switched to colour for the day. So we're now running back from midnight. Yeah, similar sort of pattern. Foxes at the front, caught on the ring camera of course as well, and at the back, triggering the PIR light, through till 1916 when the camera switched to black and white for the night. Oh, and there live is a little fox. So I had a look on my smartphone and could see him on the ring camera. So that's working okay. Oh, there's lady relaxing. So time for bed. So that's the end of the photo trail. Thursday the 29th of August 2024. Starting with this summary and then the photos shot. It's quite a short day, only into the evening. And yes, lady was helping me. That's Michelle's pussycat. And finishing touches, I hope, on the robot boat, including securing that linkage. And yeah, a bit of soldering the last battery pack in, and checking voltages, regular check all the time, and putting it out on test. And I had a problem with my black Go Top tracker. I couldn't work out what it was. Topped it up. I consulted lady, but she said, nah, you stupid boy, check everything else. And yes, lovely dialogue going on about the late John Sylvester's information that's up there. And yeah, got my hair cut, and yes, that's the after. And popped into Tesco Express and got some essential shopping. Got back, yes, there's the boat, and yes, got prepared to shoot this video. And so that's the end of the summary. Now into the photos in the order they were shot. Yes, just a record that I was having problems with the tracker. It wasn't behaving as I'd expect, but I topped it up and I put plenty of money on the SIM card. So still puzzling out what it could be. Yeah, what did the lady think about it? No, you should check everything else. And I did, and effectively it started working again. Anyhow, the boat seems to be getting into a reasonable state now. That's checking the tracker. Anybody could look at the positions. And there's the dialogue going on with what goes up on a page of photographs to remember John. And yes, it looks as though the tracker's working. The time is updated, and the position as well, of course. Lady's relaxing after all that hard work. That's processing the video for the day before, which had been the Wednesday. This is for the Thursday. And put that tracker on charge using June's charger, then on mine, and put it out on Robin's corner reference position. And there's lady relaxing, and the position looks to be right, and 12:25 GMT was the correct position, so I can afford to take it from there and bring it indoors. Yes, show it to lady. What do you think, lady? And get a signal outside, put it on charging my charger. All seems to be behaving as it should now in terms of when the lights are on, so it looks good. Cornish pasty, yes, that's pastafarian. That's because I decided to help myself to a Cornish pasty out of the fridge for lunch. And the pond's low, June's relaxing out in the sunshine. I do likewise. Have some of my pasty. And oh yes, I did find out that the reason I couldn't get the International Perfection paint is it's no longer in production. So hardly surprising I hadn't found it. Oh yes, that's a new mat that June had got, especially pussycats. Oh yes, that's been there for a while. That's Toadie prowling around, checking things. Did I say Toadie? Bentley that was. I often make mistakes with the wrong name of a pussycat. Yeah, that's the COVID page. Even though it's called the COVID page and that's what started those graphs being released, they're very useful. show all sorts of problems related to health. Oh yes, decided I have a haircut, and it's a means of checking that tracker as well. Have a little walk, get some exercise down to the village, so down past the boat, and yes, down that vehicle's been there for a while. There's some wood in the back. Well, it's worth having. You could easily check out who owns the vehicle, I suppose. Anyhow, down through the village, time to have my hair cut at 3-1 Barbers, and that's after. So, pick up some essential shopping from Tesco Express, back home. Yes, Robin's Corner for GPS testing, and the boat back inside, and I can see whether that worked. Yes, there we go. So that's the tracker. Anybody could check the position and they would have seen my little walk down, and they might have even guessed that I went into the Barbers for the amount of time I was there, and then shopping, and the position looks right back here. So forced myself to have a cornet. It's toady outside. There is a very untidy games room, and the test rig, testing the servos to death, checking voltages, and there's lady deciding to prowl around and check what I had on the, well, some would call it a dining table, I would call it the snooker table with a cover over it. And yes, so not much left on that boat at the moment. Little bit of fast gas resin, but now just used to secure that linkage, the little bolts in it, and check voltages, and solder in the last pack, the left hand side pack, checking voltages inside, that is. So those are in place, and yeah, monitor points on the outside so you can check voltages of the individual packs of power driven by the duplicated solar panels, and put it outside secured to make sure that the strong wind doesn't blow the boat over. Check the time and voltages, so that is 5.13 left hand side and similar right hand side, and 4.89 combined, which is where the power is going from. And there's the little camera being used, because that's basically saying I'm shooting the intro and outro of the late August video. Topped up the peanuts. Oh yes, we've got some red grapes coming along there, and or black grapes, not sure what you call them. We did make some wine many years ago. Nobody seemed to want to drink it for some reason. Just a few shots looking around the flat roof, and a very untidy room upstairs. You think my junk is bad downstairs, you see all June's clothes and things upstairs. Right, yes, so that's just a record of we need help. And we might get round to clearing it up soon. Yes, just to remember this video can be processed overnight. June's watching tennis just for a change, so that's the end of the photo trail.
I warned you they would be long photo trails. So we're now going to go into that material that was shot whenever it was, over a year ago. And so yeah, glimpse of the kitchen, tennis on the telly just for a change. And as I point out, this is the little pocket camera I'm using. Here's this lovely painting, that cost a lot of money, that did. And I think the earlier clips started from about here. Now what I put on the screen, because global warming is rearing itself, it's something that's been on my grumpy page for years. The remarkable James Lovelock, who passed away on the 26th of July, his 103rd birthday. I'll read out what this says here. This has been on the Grumpy page for years, not long after the publication of his book, Revenge of Gaia. We can't stop global warming, but we may delay it by a few decades to give us time to prepare for its effects. Vast areas of the world, including as close as continental Europe, becoming arid desert, shrinking of habitable areas of the planet to much smaller parts of the planet, closer to the poles. The Earth will then only be able to support a small fraction of its present population, and there will be a need for massive migration. Places like the UK will remain temperate a little longer, so be an attractive destination. We need all world governments to cooperate to prepare for this inevitability. Also to agree things like reduce use of fossil fuels to give us a few more decades to prepare. And then it goes on. The above is not a quote, but how I remember what James Lovelocks said in his book, The Revenge of Gaia, etc. That's been unchanged on my site for years. And right, well, the other thing I should mention, yes, retired, happy and spending that kid's inheritance, is for some time now I've not been able to drive due to, well, several mistakes at the DVLA. And what I will say is that I have new evidence of what happened inside the DVLA, which I won't publish yet because I'm still waiting for the reply to the letter which was delivered by recorded delivery to the head of the DVLA and also other people. So I'll put in at the end of this long video the video that's gone up, me talking about the DVLA, and basically in summary it says I don't want anybody to get into trouble, and that is definitely the case, and resigning is too easy. Problems need to be fixed. But quite honestly, that is a minor thing compared with all the other things that are going on in the world, not least wars, and of course what's in the background and very important is global warming. So let's run into that. Back in 2012.
Seen the launch of a transatlantic sailing attempt this morning in a model boat. Retired NATO scientist Lovelocks launched his Snoop Loop from Barton-on-Sea towards the Bahamas. It's already been tested over 5,000 miles on a lake in Berkshire. The model will be steered and tracked through a satellite system and by Snoopy, of course, and it should make the crossing in 6 months, if it survives, that is.
The most important thing of the lot, of course, is Snoopy the Viking, the skipper. I don't think he'd make it otherwise. We've also got another bit and piece here. This is a GPS logger that logs the position every 15 minutes. That was back in 2012. The guy that put this material together, including the live broadcast and what went up on the BBC website, is Ben Moore.
I just worry for Snoopy. Sport now and Hampshire.
Right, on to the next topic. Right. Now, I'm going to do this all in one take. All unrehearsed and unscripted, so sorry about that. What I'd like to happen, if anybody picks up on the DVLA story, is, as I say, nobody getting into trouble, and that's a genuine request, but when they find flaws in procedures where they don't cover certain things, be good if those are fixed. What I think would be useful for anybody looking at the DVLA and perhaps helping them is, first of all, their organisation chart showing the structure. Yes, it's well known who the head of the DVLA, remarkable woman, looking at her CV, and relevant to this story is the head of the health part. But it would be very useful to see, even if names aren't attached, obviously the names can be attached where they're public already, is how many people in each branch, how many people are reporting to how many. So a simple tree would help. I suggest that first of all. Then, perhaps even more important, is how many people working for the DVLA, even if you don't identify the individuals, are salaried by the DVLA excuse me, directly, as opposed to contracted through an agency or a business. That is very important, and we've seen what's been happening in places like the NHS for years. So that comes into the equation in terms of whether money is well spent, and of course the DVLA collects a lot of money, and there are probably other things as well, but as a starting point, I'd hope anybody that responds to this, I can't afford to get overloaded, we've got other things to do, many other things to do, and we'll be taking a holiday, that'll be public, yes. I'm tracked everywhere by different things, and in fact, if anybody's paranoid about it, anybody who's tracking somebody or looking at somebody's probably seen already. But at the end of the day, there's me wittering on, which is one of my main weaknesses since I was a little child. That's why if you put things up, clearly be careful what you put up, and often it can do some good. I'm now in the kitchen, and June's rustling up some food in the microwave for Samantha, and here's Samantha, and of course there's tennis on the television, just for a change. So, oh yes, point out, holidays in we're going off to Sicily again soon, and into the hall. Yes, nice expensive paintings here. Yep, expensive little pocket camera, not expensive. And through into the lounge and out to wrap up this video by saying, look after yourselves, stay safe, and enjoy what days we have. Yes, it's now middle of March 2024, and the pond's changed quite a bit. I'll have to change the copyright statement at the end, but the message is the same. Look after yourselves, stay safe, and enjoy life while we can. Oh yeah, my hair's grown a bit since then.